You already know what Sukuna chose when he had the chance, Megami Fushiguro, the 10 Shadows, the most calculated move the King of Curses could make. But what if, months before any of that happened, he found something better? What if Sukuna woke up inside the one person that Satoru Gojo himself said might one day surpass him? In canon, Sukuna chose Megami Fushiguro. This is what happens if he chose Yuta Kotsu instead. The year is 2017. It's December 24th. Yuta just defeated Suguru Geto during the night parade of 100 demons. He freed Rika's soul and discovered his own power as a descendant of Michizane Sugawara. Gojo's plan was to send Yuta overseas with Miguel to train and turn that massive potential into something even stronger. But before Yuta left Japan, one last mission came in, and it changed everything. A Sukuna finger was located at a remote shrine in northern Japan. Local sorcerers had been monitoring it for weeks, but the seal was falling apart, and the cursed spirits drawn to its power were getting worse by the day. Normal people were dying. Regular people who had no idea what a cursed spirit even was, just going about their lives one minute and getting torn apart the next, because one severed finger from a 1,000-year-old monster was sitting in a shrine like a magnet for every nightmare in a 50-mile radius. Jujutsu High needed someone on site immediately, and Yuta was the closest special grade available. When Yuta arrived, the situation was already completely out of control. Cursed spirits had crowded the entire area, the local sorcerers were overwhelmed, civilians were trapped, and the finger's power was growing stronger with every death it caused. And Yuta, being the guy who vowed his life to protect people he cared about, did the exact same thing Yuji did in the original timeline. He didn't think about the consequences, he didn't calculate the risk, he didn't strategize, he saw people dying and he acted immediately. He swallowed the finger to draw the cursed spirits toward himself instead of the village, and just like that, the King of Curses had a new home. Now here's the dangerous thing, and this is where the timeline really matters. This happens before the main story even starts. In the original timeline, Yuji Itadori swallows a Sukuna finger at Sugisawa High School. This happened when his friends were being attacked by cursed spirits, and that was the moment Sukuna was reincarnated. But in this timeline, that event never happens, because Sukuna is already awake inside Yuta Kotsu. When Gojo eventually goes to Sugisawa to retrieve the finger stored there, it is just a cursed object. There's no desperate kid swallowing it to save his friends. There's no reincarnation. Gojo simply collects it and brings it back to Jujutsu High for safekeeping. Yuji Itadori goes on living his normal life, completely unaware that in another timeline, he was the one carrying the weight of the world. And now, you'd think this would basically be the same story as Yuji's, just with a different face and maybe a cooler sword. But here's the thing, and it's a big thing. Yuta is not Yuji. Yuji was a kid who couldn't even see curses, with no cursed energy awareness, until the moment he ate that finger. His body was a cage for Sukuna, and the only thing keeping the King of Curses contained was Yuji's rare innate ability to act as a living cage, something that appears only once in 1,000 years, combined with Kenjaku's preparation at birth. Yuta, on the other hand, has more cursed energy than Satoru Gojo. His cursed energy reserves are so massive that other sorcerers can feel it the moment he walks into a room. So when Sukuna wakes up inside Yuta's body, he is not in an empty room with breakable locks. He's in a fortress with armed guards and a very angry special grade cursed spirit floating over him like a hawk that has been waiting for this exact moment. Rika does not play around. She never has. So Sukuna can't immediately just take over. And this is where the story starts to split in a really interesting way, because unlike Yuji, Yuta actually has the firepower to keep Sukuna suppressed, at least for now. Rika wraps around Yuta's consciousness like armor, and the two of them together, the Queen of Curses and the special grade sorcerer, form a barrier that Sukuna can't easily break through. And Yuta can still use his techniques. Copy, reverse curse technique. He can still manifest Rika and access every stored technique inside her arsenal. He is basically functioning normally, just with a very unwanted passenger screaming in the back seat and sometimes trying to grab the wheel. The thing is, Sukuna is patient, smart, and has nothing but time to study the prison he's trapped in. Every time Yuta uses a technique, Sukuna learns something new. Every time Rika appears, Sukuna starts figuring out her patterns. He isn't just trapped, he's learning everything around him. And just think about how insane that actually is. The most dangerous entity in the history of Jujutsu is sitting quietly inside Yuta Kotsu, taking notes, not fighting, not screaming, just watching, waiting, building a map of every wall and every lock in the place that's holding him. That is what makes the situation so dangerous. The longer Sukuna stays inside Yuta, the more he learns how to escape. And here's the thing about Rika specifically. The problem with her isn't that she can be beaten, it's that she can be confused. The bond that makes her powerful is the exact same bond that makes her hesitate, and that detail is going to matter a lot later. And here's what that means for the world. Not just for Yuta, not for Jujutsu High, for everyone. Sukuna in Yuji's body was a nightmare that sorcerers at least had a framework for. Sukuna in Yuta's body, with Copy and Rika and those cursed energy reserves, is something nobody has a plan for. There is no contingency, there is no precedent. If this goes wrong, and it already is going wrong, there's nothing in the Jujutsu world that is designed to stop it. This is where Gojo's problem gets much worse. Yuta is not just some random vessel. He is Gojo's distant relative from the Sugawara bloodline, the student he personally trained, and the person he protected when the higher-ups wanted him executed. Yuta was only one of 4 special grade sorcerers alive. Gojo himself even says Yuta could one day surpass him. The Jujutsu higher-ups want Yuta dead immediately, without any trial or discussion, but Gojo holds them off, not through an argument or negotiation, through the simple fact that losing Yuta while Sukuna is inside him is catastrophic in either direction. If they execute Yuta, Sukuna doesn't die, he just needs a new host, and finding another vessel strong enough to contain the King of Curses is not something something Jujutsu Society can afford to do twice. So the higher-ups make the call they always make when Satoru Gojo is in the room. They wait, they monitor, they plan something for later when Gojo isn't watching. And Gojo knows that, which means Yuta can never fully stop looking over his shoulder, not at the curses, but at the people who are supposed to be on his side. And that arrangement holds, right up until Shibuya, right up until the moment Gojo is sealed, and there's no one left in that room to hold them off. Now, Kenjaku's plan shifts dramatically. See, Kenjaku's entire strategy is built around a carefully designed vessel. He took over a woman named Kaori Itadori, had a child through her, and sealed one of Sukuna's fingers inside that child at birth. That was the plan from day one, a vessel made specifically for Sukuna. With cursed energy mechanics Kenjaku fully understands. Every condition is accounted for, and every outcome is predictable. But Yuta is never part of that strategy. He's an unpredictable sorcerer with an ability Kenjaku never planned for. The cursed energy inside Yuta works very differently from what Kenjaku expected, and because of the copy technique, even if Sukuna takes over, the results become hard to predict. That scares Kenjaku, because he has spent 1,000 years trying to remove unpredictability from the equation, and Rika is also something he never planned for, which makes him nervous. A nervous Kenjaku is dangerous, because now he has to improvise, and when ancient masterminds start improvising, things usually get much messier and far more destructive than their normal plans. But Kenjaku doesn't stay nervous for long. He looks at what should have been a disaster, thinks about it for a while, and then sees a gift. This is who we're dealing with. After 1,000 years of planning, he can simply switch. He can flip the table and find the angle that benefits him before most people even realize the table moved. He realizes Sukuna inside Yuta is not a problem. In fact, it's the biggest upgrade the King of Curses has ever received, and Kenjaku decides to help make it possible. Think about it from his perspective. Copy is devastating, but it runs on rules. Rika has to consume a piece of the original user first, and she only gets 5 minutes of full manifestation. Every technique Sukuna copies, every weapon he adds to the arsenal, it all operates on that 5-minute timer during full manifestation, and Yuta already has more cursed energy than Gojo. That means Sukuna now has a massive amount of cursed energy to use, and every attack hits with overwhelming force. It is a strategy that massively boosts Kenjaku's plan. A stronger Sukuna means more chaos, more cursed energy spreading through the world, and more fuel for the great merger. Kenjaku does not need to stop Sukuna from taking over Yuta. He needs to help it happen. So the Shibuya incident gets closer, and Kenjaku does not change his plan. He just improves it slightly. Gojo is the only person who can stop a fully awakened Sukuna-Yuta combination, so this plan has to work. Satoru Gojo still walks into the trap. He still sees Pseudo-Geto's face. He still gets hit with that 1 minute of mental processing that costs him everything. The Prism Realm works, and he is sealed. And with him goes the only reason the higher-ups were staying their hand. But while everyone is focused on the Shibuya incident and Gojo sealing, Kenjaku is running a second operation at the same time, and this one is aimed directly at Yuta. He places special grade curses and cursed users in Yuta's path to keep him fighting for as long as possible. Not to kill him, just to wear him down. Every fight drains Yuta's cursed energy. Every copy technique uses up Rika's stored supply. Every use of reverse curse technique weakens the barrier keeping Sukuna contained. And Rika cannot protect Yuta's mind and fight at the same time forever, especially against this many enemies attacking from every direction. And this is what makes it so unfair. Yuta is winning. He cuts through curses easily, switches between copy techniques with perfect timing, and heals himself every time he gets hurt. He is doing everything right, but doing everything right uses energy, and energy is limited, and Sukuna is counting every bit of it. Hours of fighting, wave after wave, with no backup and no time to recover. Every time he uses copy too much, every time Rika appears and disappears again, the walls get weaker. The first sign is small. Yuta's hand suddenly moves on its own during a fight. Just a twitch. A finger bends into a position he did not choose. He fixes it immediately, but he already knows what it means. Sukuna is not trying to fight him. He's waiting for him to run out of cursed energy. And here's what makes this so much worse than the Megami situation. At this exact moment, the sorcerers still in the field are stretched across Shibuya dealing with the chaos Kenjaku has unleashed. Nobody has eyes on Yuta. Nobody knows what is happening to him in real time. The people who might have been able to help are already gone or already fighting for their lives somewhere else. Somewhere in Sendai, Yuji Itadori is watching breaking news footage of Shibuya with no idea what any of this means. Just a kid on a couch watching a city burn. A completely normal life, and that is the only thing that separates him from all of this. Yuta is totally alone, and the walls are getting thinner by the minute. Then the moment finally comes. Yuta Kotsu is exhausted after hours of fighting. He is separated from the other sorcerers, and Rika is almost out of energy. Sukuna does not force his way through. He waits for the exact moment Yuta's resistance reaches 0, then strikes, and the barrier shatters instantly. And for one horrible second, Yuta Kotsu is asleep, and the King of Curses opens his eyes inside Yuta's body. But the takeover isn't fully finished yet, because Rika is still there. She feels it the moment the barrier drops. The bond is still intact. It has to be. It is woven into the cursed energy of the body itself. But the person on the other side is wrong. It's not Yuta. It looks like Yuta. It moves like Yuta. The cursed energy signature is Yuta's, because Sukuna hasn't had enough time to fully overwrite it. But the presence beyond the eyes is something ancient and cold and completely indifferent to her. She fights it immediately. She pushes against Sukuna with everything she has, trying to find the boy underneath the intrusion, trying to force Sukuna back into whatever corner Yuta had been keeping him in. But Sukuna doesn't fight her. He does something a lot worse. He waits for her to tire herself out too, and then he reaches for the thing she cannot ignore. He uses Yuta's voice, not Sukuna's voice coming out of Yuta's mouth. That would be easy to reject. He uses the same same exact cadence and tone that Yuta used when he told Rika she could rest. The same sound that freed her soul, and you feel it the moment it happens. The way she hesitates. 1 second, even less, but it's still there. The thing that has killed monsters stops moving, and in that hesitation, Sukuna finds the thread. This is the part nobody could have predicted, and nobody could have stopped. He doesn't try to destroy the bond between Rika and Yuta. He starts absorbing it. Every time he used Yuta's cursed energy, and he's been doing this for months, every time he surfaced even slightly, he has been pulling the connections towards himself, slowly, piece by piece, until there's enough of him attached to it that Rika can't cleanly separate the two. Rika tries. She screams against the wrongness of what she is feeling. She pulls back from the bond instead of pulling towards it, which is the only move she has left. But you watch her stop. You watch the Queen of Curses, who came back from death for this boy, choose not to destroy what she is holding onto, because the bond that made her the Queen of Curses, the thing that brought her back from death and kept her tethered to the world, it is also the thing that won't let her abandon what is still partly the boy she loved. Because it's not all Sukuna yet. There's still traces of Yuta in there, buried underneath everything, and Rika can feel every single one of them. That is what Sukuna was counting on. He doesn't break the bond, he takes control. He becomes enough of Yuta Kotsu that Rika can't bring herself to destroy what she is looking at, and so the Queen of Curses, who loved Yuta more than anything, becomes a weapon pointed in whatever direction the King of Curses chooses. Not because she was beaten, because she couldn't let go. And this is what everyone in Shibuya sees. Not a monster, not a weapon. The Queen of Curses, loyal to the last second possible, in the worst possible direction. And underneath all of it, Sukuna is smiling. Now here's a part of Kenjaku's new plan that nobody saw coming. There are 20 Sukuna fingers in existence. Yuta only swallowed one. That means Sukuna is running at a fraction of his full power, 1/20th to be exact, using Yuta's body and copy techniques alone, and Kenjaku has been collecting the rest. For months, he has used his network of curses and curse users to gather Ryumen Sukuna's fingers from finger bearer nests and sealed shrines across Japan. He doesn't have all of them. Gojo hid one to stop Sukuna from ever reaching full power, and several others are still locked inside Jujutsu High's vault behind barriers. But he has a significant amount, multiple, wrapped in talismans, and carried by Urame through the chaos of Shibuya like a delivery for the devil himself. And Sukuna, now controlling Yuta's body, eats every single one. Each one pours more of Sukuna's cursed energy into the body, stacking on top of Yuta's already massive reserves. And this is where things go from bad to something else entirely. Cleave goes from cutting through individual targets to carving through entire structures with a touch. Dismantle shreds everything at devastating range. And with Yuta's cursed energy amplifying each slash, the destruction spreads block by block. He uses copy techniques with so much power that the original users look weak in comparison, and the sorcerers who face him are completely outmatched. Their techniques mean nothing against a vessel running shrine, copy, reverse curse technique, and multiple of Ryumen Sukuna's fingers at once. And Sukuna doesn't waste time like he did in the OG Shibuya incident. He's much more organized. First, he takes down the communication channels, cutting off coordination between the sorcerer teams. Then he uses copy techniques to seal escape routes and force civilians and sorcerers into specific areas where Cleave and Dismantle can do the most damage. He doesn't just want to destroy Shibuya, he wants to make sure nobody leaves alive. Maki reaches him first, and she notices it immediately. The eyes, the way the body moves, the absence of the person she knows. She fights anyway, because she always does. Sukuna steps around every attack and fires a cleave at her like he is bored, and she hits the ground. Nanami gets there last. He has spent his entire career fighting monsters, losing people, carrying the weight of a world that runs on grief. He has watched students die and kept going. He has done everything right and watched it not be enough and kept going anyway. And now he is standing in front of the boy he would have died without hesitation to protect. Except it's not that boy anymore. Nanami always fights, but it just doesn't matter. Since Satoru Gojo is sealed, the others left standing are forced to fight an OP Yuta. Every grade 1 sorcerer who reaches Sukuna Yuta is removed. Without hesitation, one by one, they all fall. And Kenjaku watches from the shadows and smiles, because this is exactly what he wants. The chaos, the destruction, the cursed energy flooding through Shibuya. All of it helps the great merger. Sukuna is not Kenjaku's enemy in this timeline. He's the thing speeding the plan up, and Shibuya is not a tragedy to Kenjaku, it is fuel. A Sukuna possessed Yuta Kotsu at 12 fingers releases so much cursed energy that it does the work of far more than the Culling Game's 1,000 players. Kenjaku's plan does not just survive the timeline changes, it becomes even better. And here's the thing that makes this timeline worse than the original, and I mean genuinely worse. In the OG story, Sukuna took over Megumi Fushiguro, and the sorcerers still had time. They had time to unseal Gojo, time to prepare for what was coming. Megumi is still resisting from the inside, he's still creating openings, but Yuta is not creating anything, because Sukuna does not just break through Yuta's defenses, he consumes them. Every bit of resistance, every wall Yuta built, every connection to Rika that was supposed to protect him, Sukuna destroyed all of it. He is not fighting back from the inside, he's not waiting to be saved. The boy who wanted to protect everyone is completely unconscious. And that is what happens if Sukuna takes over Yuta instead. Not a heroic sacrifice, not a noble final stand, just a total loss. The sorcerers who survive Shibuya are left standing in the ruins of their own city. Their strongest ally has become their biggest nightmare, and the only person who can stop it is sealed inside the prison realm, carried away in the unknown. And this is the worst tragedy of all. Yuji Itadori is living an ordinary life, the one he never asked for in either version, and it's only possible because someone else had to pay for it, and he will never know.